Thank you for tuning in to Macroview Television and welcome to a brand new edition of Taiwan Outlook, the program that presents the people and the stories on Taiwan. I'm your host, Ray Guo. The Kingdom of Swaziland has maintained diplomatic relations with the Republic of China on Taiwan since 1968. How is the state of bilateral relations today? Well, we're going to find out on today's program because we are delighted and honored to have His Excellency Thamie Dlamini, who is the ambassador from the Kingdom of Swaziland to the Republic of China on Taiwan, to be our special guest on the program today. Welcome to our program, Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Raymond.
Yes.
And greetings to all our viewers. Yes. My humble greetings to also the entire team from Taiwan Outlook. Thank you for the great reception.
Well, it's an honor to have you on the program, Ambassador. And Ambassador, excuse me for saying so, but you are very young. But you've had a very distinguished career in your government. Can you then start off today's program by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I wouldn't say thank you very much on the compliment of being young, first of all.
Yes.
But it's been a very brief, amazing journey so far. I might look young, but of course I'm very privileged enough to also extend my sincere thanks to the government of the Kingdom of Swaziland, particularly His Majesty, who had so much confidence in me when he appointed me to serve as the ambassador of the Kingdom of Swaziland in Taiwan.
Yes.
I joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, of course, back in Swaziland in the year 2002, upon completing my studies at the University of Swaziland, where I studied international relations. So I had always had a huge interest of venturing into politics as well as understanding the international relations and community, how it works. So joining the ministry was very good for me because it gave me an insight and also a learning curve as what to expect in the long term. I served as the assistant socio-political analyst at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Administration Department. Then from 2005, I was also within the ministry. I was appointed as a political analyst, which amongst my duties was covering the African Union as well as the other multilateral organizations such as the United Nations.
Nice.
Fortunately, in 2007, I was posted to my first posting abroad, which was the United Kingdom, where I served in London as our trade attaché. That was a bit different, because it was my first time to fully get an international exposure, being away from home, being away from my parents, being away from my friends. But then, of course, I understood that I had to take the challenge that lied ahead. So from 2008, I was transferred to Kuwait when the Kingdom of Swaziland established her first diplomatic mission in the Middle East. So I served in Kuwait as the first secretary, which included setting up and as well as covering the whole Gulf area, because at the time we didn't have any diplomatic representation in the Middle East.
That was the first.
That was the first one, which was followed later by, of course, Qatar as well as the United Arab Emirates. So from 2014, it was a very, very welcoming news, not only to myself, but to also my ministry as well as my family and friends, because I got appointed to come and serve as the ambassador of the Kingdom of Swaziland to Taiwan. So ever since I got here, 2014, April, May, it's been a wonderful experience,
Terrific.
The reception I have got from the Taiwanese people, the Taiwanese government, has been amazing. So I'm enjoying the journey so far.
Well, I'm sure, speaking on behalf of the government and the people of Taiwan, will very much welcome your, appointment to Taiwan. And tell us a little bit about, your impression of Taiwan over the last year and a half. And you already mentioned about people and things. How about some of the sites? Have you been traveling around Taiwan? What have you discovered that's, very different from home?
Well, Raymond, first of all, the first impression you always look forward to whenever you visit a country, it's the people.
Yes.
And I think that's where the Taiwanese people are totally different than many of other people whenever you visit other countries.
Yes.
You're very great reception. You always provide great hospitality to whosoever visits Taiwan. And that itself, it makes you feel comfortable because, Raymond, remember, when we come to serve in our diplomatic postings, we always come with our families.
Yes.
So it is always very important to have them fully settled so you can also be able to focus in your job. So Taiwan, I think, by being very friendlier to many of your international friends, you make it very easier for us to settle. Okay. But then, of course, as you drive around, as you mentioned, you drive around, you walk around your beautiful Formosa. I think it's an amazing country. Beautiful scenery, you know, beautiful landscapes. I've been fortunate to travel enough. I've been to the southern part. I've been to the Sun Moon Lake. Oh, and yesterday I was visiting Hualien, you know, for investment purposes. So you get to admire the economic development Taiwan has achieved over the last few years. It's quite impressive, and congratulations to the government and the people of the Republic of China and Taiwan on that success.
Yeah, thank you, Ambassador, for those kind remarks. And let me ask you, can you also tell us a little bit about your beautiful country? I must excuse my ignorance because I've never been to, you know, the Kingdom of Swaziland. But since we have maintained diplomatic relations for some like 47 years, so the relationship is deep, you know, and very, you know, long-standing. And can you tell us a little bit about Swaziland?
Well, Raymond, I think from your busy schedule, I can understand why you've never had a chance to travel to Swaziland.
Yes.
But I think if you find time, please make sure you do pay a visit. Yes. Swaziland will excite you in many ways. We're a very small country, you know, around 1.3, 1.4 million people. You know, and we share a lot of similarities with Taiwan because even Swazis themselves, we pride in ourselves as being very humble, respectful, and receiving to our guests. You know, I'm surely confident that whenever you visit Swaziland, you are going to, not only yourself, but many of Taiwanese people who visit Swaziland, they always receive a great reception. And of course, the adventure, when you're looking for adventure, it's another very dynamic, adventurous, small, tiny kingdom. Because of course, we also have a beautiful landscape, a beautiful scenery, the many major tourist attractions that will attract many people from Taiwan. And that is why, you know, tourism now is doing well in Swaziland. It's because people want to just go and enjoy a laid-back environment, totally different from Taipei. Because Taipei is full of bars. It's very hectic. But Swaziland gives you something different. You know, if you are into wildlife, you are surely going to enjoy yourself and visit our parks, which is also going to give you a chance to enjoy our Big Five, because you'll also have a closer interaction with the wildlife there. If you're someone who's into birding, you have different kinds of bird species, you know, which you can also enjoy depending on the times of the season you visit. But the weather condition, you know, it's also what
that makes it
a bit different whenever you speak to Taiwanese people who visited Swaziland, especially during our winter. You know, the weather is very cool, and our summer itself isn't that much hot. So we are a country that also enjoys 4 seasons in a year. So you can imagine the kind of different exposure or experiences you can get as a tourist visiting Swaziland. But also the infrastructure. You know, we've had amazing progress within the last few years, which makes it easier for our tourists to not only move around the country whenever they visit, but also to have the facilities they're used to whenever they visit Swaziland, because coming from Taiwan, you will expect to get connected to Wi-Fi. You will expect to enjoy all, you know, your gadgets you enjoy here, electronic gadgets you enjoy here. So we've also progressed on that regard to make sure that we put more emphasis and investment on those newly modern infrastructure, which mostly brings about improved technology.
All right. And Ambassador, let me ask you a little bit about the functions that your embassy, your office in Taiwan plays. I mean, in terms of, you know, providing information for tourists, for investments, what are some of the other activities that you have planned?
Well, the activities, of course, are on a very wide spectrum. But, of course, the most important one, it is to maintain this very good diplomatic ties between our countries. And also to make sure that whilst we're maintaining the very good ties that have lasted for over the last 47 years, we also try and seek other ways of how best we can improve, how best we can expand.
Of course.
And the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of China and Taiwan has been very assisting on that regard. But us, our mandate as an office is also extends to taking good care of all Swazi nationals who are residing in Taiwan. We have quite a number of students starting here through the various scholarship programs offered by Taiwan. So that itself also is part of our duties or mandate as an office. But of course, you mentioned a very important one of trying to increase investment. You know, because in recent years we have seen how diplomacy has progressed from traditional to mostly economic diplomacy. So we try by all means to make sure that we have a very closer interaction with the Taiwanese private sector to make sure that we understand how is the market here in Taiwan, as well as also availing ourselves in terms of market accessibility within Swaziland as well as beyond the confines of Swaziland. So our duties also as an office go beyond just the normal government operations, but it is the closer interaction with the civic societies, be it NGOs, because Taiwanese, as I mentioned, Raymond, they're very kind people. So you find that they're involved in many humanitarian or charity projects in Swaziland. So it is also our duty to always make sure that we facilitate for those kind of activities.
Terrific. And thank you, Ambassador, for giving us a very comprehensive background about the relationship between our countries and also the functions that your office offers. And let's go back a little bit in history and talk about the relationship between the Kingdom of Swaziland and the Republic of China on Taiwan. As I said at the beginning of the program, we have had diplomatic relations since 1968. So it's been a long time, but the relationship, I'm sure, has been evolving over the years. You know, maybe at the beginning was more political. Now, as you said, it's more economic, trade, and investment oriented. Can you give us an overall assessment on the state of bilateral relations between the Kingdom of Swaziland and the R.O.C. on Taiwan, please?
Raymond, I think you rightfully mentioned that our diplomatic ties with Taiwan dates back to 1968.
Yes.
To us, Swazi people, 1968, it's a very, very important year because that is also where we attained our independence. That is also when His Majesty was born. And also that is when we established our diplomatic ties with the Republic of China and Taiwan. So we put more emphasis to that particular year. But coming to our diplomatic ties with Taiwan, I think it started as an agricultural mission, you know, where Taiwan established an agricultural mission, which is still present in Swaziland right now, doing great. But I think both our countries, especially our leadership, felt it was more important to move it to the next level, which was focusing on full-scale diplomacy, thus establishing our diplomatic ties. So since 1968, Swaziland and Taiwan has maintained very deep-rooted, strong bilateral ties. Of course, we have made many strides in many different ways. And also, we've seen how Taiwan has helped Swaziland achieve her economic and development prosperity. It is because mostly it's because of the diplomatic ties we share with Taiwan.
All right. And let's talk a little bit on the economic side of the relationship. You know, let's talk in particular about investment. You know, you mentioned earlier that, you were, a few days ago in Hualien promoting investment from Taiwan into Swaziland. And what are some of the areas that Taiwanese investments have come into the Kingdom of Swaziland? And has the investment been helpful in terms of Swaziland's continued economic transformation and expansion?
Well, nowadays, of course, we also take a lot of our effort to make sure we try and focus on economic diplomacy, because I think we have to respond to the needs of the global village we live in. As a globalized world, we have seen how the economic development of countries plays a very crucial role. So Swaziland, by being a very close ally of Taiwan, which has had very successful economic prosperity over the years, draws a lot of experiences and shares a lot of experiences with the Republic of China and Taiwan on how best we can improve ourselves. Therefore, I think by being here, it has given us a platform to closely interact and also share experiences and knowledge with your private sector. In the process, whilst we open up ourselves as an embassy or as a country, Swaziland, we also make sure that we encourage the flow of foreign direct investment from Taiwan to Swaziland. Over the last few years, we've seen the textile industry has been very dominant. We have more than 26 Taiwanese investment companies in Swaziland, but focusing on textile. But after I got here, of course, I admired what Taiwan has done, especially on ICT. You know, you're now the headquarters of the world when it comes to ICT. We've seen what Foxconn is doing, what ASUS is doing. You've got the ASA, HTC, many of those mega worldwide giants found in Taiwan. But we felt, well, we can also try and seek how best we can market ourselves. So we've got some very exciting news on that regard, because right now, as we speak, Raymond, we have a Taiwanese company that is setting up in Swaziland to focus on smartphones, on the smartphones industry. So they have already designed a very beautiful low-cost smartphone that will be called the VS22, because they are embracing our national development strategy and His Majesty's vision of Vision 2022. So they will start operating in October or November, because we've already done all the necessary paperwork. But also at the same time, we do travel around to have closer connections or closer networking, to increase our networking with the private sector. For instance, yesterday when I went to Hualien, there's a very exciting marble factory company. And I know that in Swaziland we do have a potential of the marble industry. So we are also discussing with them on future investment prospects. Also in Kaohsiung, you know, because Taiwanese business people are very dynamic. They are willing to go beyond the confines of Taiwan. But it's what we present as the government of the Kingdom of Swaziland to make our country more attractive. So in terms of diversifying from the textile industry, we are making sure that also we include food processing, because that's another strength of Taiwan. We have seen how your food processing industry is so vibrant. So we're also trying to make sure that we improve on agriculture, but at the same time, not just focus on raw materials, do the final processing, which will make us more competitive within the global village as a country.
And how about on the side of trade, Ambassador? You know, you mentioned about textile, but how about some of the products that Taiwan imports, you know, from Swaziland?
I think this is where I will say we need to extremely work hard. I think this is where we need to fully involve the Taiwan TITRA. You know, we need to fully involve the economic planning ministry. And fortunately, in May, we had a very successful trade and investment seminar, because we feel the relations we have with Taiwan have been very, very impressive. But when you look at the trade volume, the trade balance, it is in that pleasing. So I think we can do much on that by cooperating with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which also enables us to link up with the private sector. We can do much. In terms of the products themselves, we just participated in the Food Expo that was hosted, whereby we are trying to introduce Swazi products such as the honey, you know, our organic honey. There was a lot of excitement during the food show. Many Taiwanese people were excited about it, and they wanted to get more information. But I think for us, we can only be more competitive if we can focus on organic agriculture and then bring to Taiwan our farm produce. But in terms of other products, I think we've got beautiful artifacts, which are mostly traditional artifacts, which are more appealing for house decors, and also doing well within the markets, especially if you are into fashion or arts. You know, I think we can also do well on that regard, because I have come to understand how most Taiwanese people put emphasis on arts and design.
Yes. And how about education? You mentioned earlier that you have a sizable number of students from Swaziland and studying in Taiwan. And is the education exchange to the level that, Ambassador, you are comfortable with?
For that, Raymond, I will say surely we are very grateful to the government and the people of Taiwan, because for any country to reach economic prosperity, you need to have a highly educated human resources. You know, that is the pillar of any country's economic development. So what Taiwan has done with the educational partnership programs is to open up their own universities and also to support us through the various scholarship programs which they offer. We are doing extremely well on that regard. Right now, the number of Swazi students enrolled in many different Taiwanese universities is beyond 200. But most importantly, what we have done, it is just not only training students for the sake of sending students abroad, but some of these Taiwanese universities, such as the National Taiwan University of Technology, NTUT, they have specifically designed programs for Swazi students. For instance, our country is trying to venture into mining, so NTUT has offered us specially designed mining programs for our students. It's called the Swaziland Elite Mining Program, as well as for computer engineering program. Those are tailored, designed programs, which I think will help us in terms of improving on ICT, as well as also improving on the mining sector, because this is where the focus is of our economic growth. So, but still, nonetheless, we've seen other students doing well in the medical healthcare, especially in Taiwan Medical University Hospital, where we have an agreement. But we are also trying to engage more, especially with vocational training, because I've seen how Taiwan's education is more practical. And this is what we need now, because the market needs, the market changes has showed that we need more practical education to take you further. I think our country for many years was focusing on white-collar jobs, but recently we've seen huge changes within the labor market, whereby white-collar jobs are no longer that popular. So you find that you have a lot of unemployment. But then the best way you can deal with unemployment is to empower practical skills and knowledge, and this is what we're getting from Taiwan. So we are trying to focus on vocational training. But so far, we've been very grateful to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, which also plays a very crucial role in providing the scholarships, as well as the ICDF, the International Cooperation Development, because they also provide scholarships to some of the Swazi students.
Okay, Ambassador, you're certainly very kind. We believe, based on this already solid foundation, that our bilateral relationship will continue to grow under your leadership. All right, we need to take another. Let's next talk about some of the issues that our governments have been working on together. For example, on immigration issues, and also on the human trafficking issues. Can you share some light on those issues?
Well, Raymond, those are very important issues, not only for both Swaziland and Taiwan, but also the global issues. If you look at especially what's happening these days, with the immigration issues of refugees as well in Europe, I think it also gives us as friendlier countries between ourselves to always make sure that our house is kept in order. But we're very fortunate that our two governments have been working closely and cooperating on that regard, such that we have a memorandum of understanding on immigration, anti-human trafficking. And in the process, we were able to have a very good waiver agreement, a visa waiver agreement, which entails that Swazi nationals can freely travel to Taiwan without seeking a visa. But they can always get a visa on arrival. And that is on a reciprocal basis. The same applies to Taiwanese nationals. When they visit Swaziland, they never seek a visa. So those kind of controls are very important, because not only do they help you deal with human trafficking issues, but they also allow you to make sure that you are able to cooperate and exchange on immigration issues. But what Taiwan also does best is the fact that you have brought in and you have hugely invested on technology, on how best you can deal with your immigration issues. That itself, I think, when we exchange views as both countries, we're able to also see what Taiwan does to deal with those immigration issues, but also at the same time, we are able to learn from Taiwan on that regard. But also, that is why we feel Taiwan can play a very active role within the global village, because we have seen how Taiwan does its immigration and how Taiwan is not one of those countries usually affected by human trafficking.
Okay. And next, let's, Ambassador, talk about the 2022 vision that was proposed by your King, His Majesty, and how can Taiwan, help the Kingdom of Swaziland achieve the vision that's being outlined by His Majesty? And what is the role that you foresee for Taiwan to play in helping Swaziland to become a member of the First World Community?
I think, of course, His Majesty's vision is very simple, clear, and it's been laid down to us as the government of the Kingdom of Swaziland to make sure that by the year 2022, we have attained First World status, or we are one of those developed countries. We know that we can never achieve His Majesty's dream by ourselves. We need the international community to come and support us. But of course, you will expect Swaziland to fully rely on its friendlier allies, such as Taiwan. Taiwan has done remarkably well on that regard, and I strongly believe that going forward, Taiwan will still continuously support Swaziland. I can give an example, Raymond, of some of the achievements we've seen over the last few years.
Please.
I think one of the most important ones, which also signifies the importance of our ties with Taiwan, has been the rural electrification program. In Swaziland now, we are on 76% electrified. That is access to the most rural areas we'll never thought will have access to electricity. But through that program, which we share with Taiwan, we have seen huge successes, but also on healthcare, because for you to attain the First World status, you need to make sure that your healthcare systems are very good. We have seen how Taiwan's national insurance healthcare system is the best in the world. I was very fortunate to attend the Health Global Forum last year, which was hosted in Taiwan. So we shared a lot of experiences, expertise on how best we can also learn from Taiwan to make sure that by the year 2022, we have such systems in place in Swaziland. But also in the infrastructure at large. Taiwan has helped us with infrastructure development, such as highways, construction of highways. And not long ago, Taiwan played a very crucial role in the newly established Kingdom Swaziland III International Airport, which is a state-of-the-art facility. And the day you decide to visit Swaziland, Raymond, you will land at that airport, and you will see what our closer ties has done. So I think for us to make sure that we reach His Majesty's vision, we need Taiwan more than before. And Taiwan has been very responding positively. Right now, we are in the process of construction in ICC, International Convention Center, whereby we will host summits. Because soon, in the year 2020, Swaziland will be hosting the African Union Summit. We are expecting more than 3,000 delegates coming from Africa, the entire AU community. And that itself, I think it will be a very good platform for us to showcase our good relations with Taiwan to also our own African brothers, to see that indeed His Majesty's decision to always stick and support Taiwan has been very good for us. So in Swaziland, Raymond, we view Taiwan, our relations with Taiwan, as more practical diplomacy, because they benefit each and every one of our people. And in the process, they are able to help alleviate all the socio-economic challenges they can face.
Yes, and Ambassador, the same thing. I think the people and the government in Taiwan are very, appreciative of all the efforts and the assistance provided by your government in terms of helping Taiwan to attain more international space, and also in terms of having some meaningful participation on the international arena. Can you share with us, some of the, activities and events that we have worked together in terms of helping Taiwan to become more visible internationally?
I think Taiwan, first of all, has a great to offer. We are very fortunate in Swaziland because we're able to tap in firsthand what Taiwan can offer to the whole world. And this is why in almost all our international forums, we always call for an extensive participation of Taiwan, because we know that you have a lot of support you can offer. And also, we have seen how Taiwan, especially, I'll give an example, Raymond, on how you respond to natural disasters.
Yes.
I've been fortunate that whilst here, I've seen how you supported countries such as Japan, you've supported countries such as Vietnam. Whenever they have natural disasters, Taiwan is always responsive. And this is what we, Swaziland, strongly believe Taiwan can help the world in dealing with some of the challenges, because some of these challenges we face today, the global challenges, you need the entire global community to dialogue and get involved to deal with. But in terms of us supporting Taiwan, this week His Majesty is attending the United Nations General Assembly, and of course, like before in many other summits where he gets a chance, he will call for Taiwan's active participation within the international community forum. But we have seen also, and we're very proud of Taiwan's achievements. We're aware that Taiwan now is actively participating within the United Nations framework for climate change.
Yes.
And Taiwan has been doing extremely well on addressing climate change issues. It's one of the few countries in the world that has fully tried to invest on addressing climate change. So that itself, I think, is very, very admiring to us as a Swazi nation to always make sure that we support Taiwan. But we've also seen you actively participating as a country within the World Health Assembly.
Yes.
And that once again, if Taiwan is one of the countries extremely doing well on healthcare issues, come to join the rest of the world to share with us how you've made such great strides. But also on aviation issues, we have also seen Taiwan being included as a member. So that itself shows that indeed we're slowly, as much as maybe it will be believed it's slow strides, but to us this has been very huge progress. And as our good friends, we're very excited and happy to see Taiwan actively participating. But we'll still call for Taiwan's active role to play a more active role, to supporting us. Because one of the issues, I think, we're a very democratic country.
Yes.
You've enjoyed peace and stability for many years. You can come and share with the rest of the world at how best we can deal with some of the civil unrest we see in many of our parts.
Yes, and certainly I think, like I said, people here are very grateful for all the support that we have received from your government. And we're looking forward to more, maybe in the future, no matter who's, in government here, that the people in Taiwan would like to be more active internationally and more visible on some of the issues that you have mentioned. And then I must, ask you a question regarding the developments and the changes that we have seen in the bilateral relations between China and Taiwan in the last few years. As you know, since President Ma Ying-jeou, took over the office in 2008, there's been intensifying exchanges and also improved relations between China and Taiwan. And this certainly has helped to stabilize the peace and stability, not just in the Taiwan Strait, but also in the Western Pacific area in general. And that's had a huge impact in the continued growth and development of the Asia-Pacific area overall. And as a very faithful and very long-standing diplomatic ally of the Republic of China, what is your view about the improved relations between China and Taiwan. Will this improvement have any relations at all to our bilateral relationship? Please.
Well, it's we are a country. Swaziland is a country that fully embraces peace and stability.
Yes.
So for us, His Majesty most importantly believes in dialogue.
Yes.
That in whatever situation where you have differences, dialogue is always very important.
Yes.
But then when it comes to the international community, what we've done as Swaziland is always maintain our position of non-interference on sovereignty issues of other nations.
Yes.
But as Taiwan is our ally and our good friend, we are still keen to, we'll still maintain this very good diplomatic ties with Taiwan for many, many more years.
Yes.
But in terms of the cross-strait relations with China, we always support what the government of Taiwan thinks is best for not only the Taiwanese government, but also the Taiwanese people. So we'll always respect that when it comes to whatever decision Taiwan does. But of course, we appreciate the fact that there's been a lot of dialogue between the two countries, being China and Taiwan.
Yes.
And for us as Swaziland, we will always support for that. But most importantly, we support Taiwan on whatever decision the Taiwanese government and the Taiwanese people will take.
Yes, I certainly think the people and the government here are very appreciative of the fact, despite that China has been pouring a lot of resources into Africa, and then the Kingdom of Swaziland has remained a very faithful diplomatic ally of Taiwan's, and we certainly want to see the relationship continue. And what is important for any relationship between countries is for the relationship to continue to grow. You have already discussed the various aspects of our relationship, politics, international relations, economy, and also investment and trade. What would be some of the things that you would like to see the relationship to expand and develop even more in the years ahead? For example, maybe in the area of arts, cultural exchanges. What is your view, Ambassador?
Well, with regards to China pouring investments to Africa, we, as Swaziland, we are, because we are still a country located in Africa, we want to see our other African brothers or African sisters progress, achieve economic prosperity, address whatever challenges they have. But when it comes to us in Taiwan, we know, and His Majesty, when he was here in May, he did reaffirm our relations, that Swaziland will still remain a very close ally to Taiwan, because our diplomatic ties are all based on fundamental principles, mutual understanding, mutual benefit, and mutual respect. That is why we highly value our relations with Taiwan, and we are very assured that we will make sure that we will keep our loyalty towards Taiwan. But in terms of going forward, yes, there is still a lot we can do as countries in terms of expanding our present confines in terms of cooperation. And it could be looking at what Taiwan is doing best and then drawing from that, but also exchanging, doing a lot of exchanges. I think, Raymond, we have a larger number of exchanges in terms of high-profile delegations between our two countries to share on those important issues that will safeguard, promote our interests further. We have closely seen at how your industrial parks have transformed the economy. And now in Swaziland again, we are going to have the first of its kind in Africa. We are establishing our own science and biotechnology park. This is to help move forward as a country. But where are we drawing that experience from? From Taiwan. So we are closely making sure that we follow at what are the new trends of economic development that we can learn from Taiwan. And we have achieved on that. So whilst I'm still here, my duty as well as our embassy is to make sure that we reaffirm on the relationship, but also try and seek other ways of how best we can expand on our cooperation.
All right. Ambassador, maybe on the other end of the spectrum, what do you think could be some of the challenges ahead, in our bilateral relations. We already talked about the areas that we can improve on. We already talked about the areas we can deepen our relationship. For example, education, bilateral trade and things. What would be some of the areas maybe we're not doing as much? Maybe we can do more, to make sure that these areas also improve our relations in the future. For example, you talk about tourism.
Yes.
But even for people like us, we know about Kingdom of Swaziland, of course, but we don't have the opportunities to travel there. Would there be, for example, more efforts from your government and specifically your office to promote tourism? Maybe we'll have a safari tour, maybe we'll have an eco-friendly tour. Would there be something that you like to see happening in the years ahead?
Well, of course, that is very important because going forward, yes, it's very good relationship at present, but also this is what best we do with the Republic of China and Taiwan in terms of our reviewing process of how best we can improve. One of the things we've both agreed as governments is the need to focus on people-to-people diplomacy, whereby a lot of Taiwanese people can visit Swaziland, can get to know much about Swaziland, because as Swazis, we strongly feel Swaziland is the hidden secret of the world.
Yes.
You only get to know Swaziland once you travel to Swaziland. So we are trying to make sure that we encourage on that, but also at the same time, we want to make sure that we focus on increasing the tourist flow of Taiwanese people to Swaziland. That is why we are thinking of pursuing very closer cooperation with either China Airlines or be it Evergreen or other major airline operators of Taiwan to at least get maybe one flight directly to Swaziland. It could be arranged in a week basis, in a 2-week basis. That itself, I think, can help, because most of the people who want to visit Swaziland from Taiwan, they always want to find out if it's much easier just to travel from straight to Taiwan rather than going through the present different routes. So that is very important. And also conducting tourism seminars, participating in the many international tourism events which are held in Taiwan, the tourist exhibition. So that itself, it helps us get a closer contact with the major tourist operators to understand what really are Taiwanese people looking forward to whenever they visit. But of course, in terms of cultural exchanges, I think that is also where we can play a part. Fortunately, we are currently working with schools, some students from Taiwan during their summer holidays. Now they visit Swaziland. So if we catch them young, I think that will be a very good investment for the future because they already know about Swaziland and they look forward to visiting Swaziland again. So that itself, I think, can help us. But mostly it's people-to-people diplomacy we want to focus on. I think at the government levels, we are very much satisfied. So also on trade, I think trade we can still review our trade relations and see how best we can improve and increase the volumes.
Yeah, certainly very confident that in the future, with your participation here in Taipei, I think our bilateral relations will continue to grow. Ambassador, for the final question of today's program, I'm going to ask you something a little lighthearted. Since coming to Taiwan over a year ago, what was the biggest adjustment that you have to make? Other than the language, of course, the Chinese language is very difficult. But other than the language, for example, did you have to get used to the local food or some of the local customs? Because we have a lot of, for example, Buddhist temples around the island. I mean, what's the aspect that you felt was the most eye-opening experience for you?
I think fortunately, I was very fortunate and privileged, which I also sincerely thank my government for. Going to London, going to Kuwait really prepared me for my next posting. And fortunately, it was Taiwan. Fortunately, why Taiwan? Because in terms of the food, yes, we do have Taiwanese restaurants in Swaziland and very good dining restaurants. But of course, now being in the headquarters of adventurous food industry, being Taiwan, it was quite a shock. you know, to eat some of the food. Yes. But I've enjoyed it. Unfortunately, I'm not somebody who takes seafood, so I miss out on some of your very delicious seafood cuisines. Yeah. But in terms of what really surprised me, you know, it's your working ethic. You know, in Taiwan, there is never a day off, Raymond. On a Sunday, 7 a.m., you will have an event. Yes. On a Monday, 11 a.m., 12 midnight, there will still be another event. So the working ethic here is very, very amazing. But in terms of what shocked me, nothing much. It was just a very positive spirits and learning more about your country, which I still do, you know, whenever you get to travel. But in terms of the cultural diversity, I wasn't expecting that, you know. And also, you know, you always expect to see different Chinese houses, you know. Looking at your embassy in Swaziland, it's a very beautiful Chinese artwork house. Wonderful. But then when you come here, you see different structures, the 101. The positive development you've made, I think this is what also intrigued me most. Well, Ambassador, it's certainly been a pleasure and an honor to have you on the program today. Want to wish you all the best in your future personal and professional endeavors. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Raymond. It's been a great pleasure for me to be invited to Taiwan Outlook, and thank you for your time as well. Thank you. All right. And thank you for watching our program today. I'll see you next time on MacroView Television. Thank you.